Welcome to Coffee with Joe for Thursday, November 11th, 2010.
Hello, Pete.
Joe, we got a new Congress in the last couple of weeks since the
New
election.
Congress.
We got a
Congress.
Republican majority in the House of Representatives.
Yep.
We've got some so-called Tea Party candidates in both houses. Rand Paul's in the Senate. And in fact, this week, Rand Paul made some headlines by bringing up the idea of the Republicans opposing raising the debt ceiling in February when it comes up the next time for negotiation.
Yeah.
Yep. Obviously, we do seem to have an unsustainable national debt. We've been running deficits for 100 years. They don't seem to be getting any smaller. The national debt to GDP keeps going up. I can understand the impulse to want to rein that in.
Absolutely, Pete.
Right?
There's no question about that. Yeah.
I mean, clearly this debt money system that we've had for 100 years,
deficits.
The deficits keep going up. It's not sustainable this way. Now,
right, exactly.
The way we dealt with the financial crisis 2 years ago was by expanding government deficits, right? That's what all the bailouts were about.
Further and further.
Further and further down what I would call the first way, okay? The first way in the debt money system is the way we've been going for 100 years, which is more and more and more debt. But there's an acknowledgement among everybody that we can't do that forever. Yeah, it was a temporary measure to avoid going off the cliff 2 years ago.
Right.
And now there's a movement to rein that in, to rein the deficits in, and the Republicans actually have the power to implement what I would call the second way, which might be called austerity, or instead of an expansionary monetary policy, a contractionary monetary, or at least as in terms of the federal government deficit.
Pete, the way I look at it is, on the one hand, on that first way, you can have a lot of well-being and an unsustainable growth, of debt. Okay. On the other hand, you can have a reduction in that debt, even striving to eliminate it. Okay. But you have to give up the prosperity. You have to give up the well-being. You have to give up, the benefits of being a civilized person in a, in an industrial democracy, as they call us,
Well, I think Rand Paul's trying to create well-being, Joe. I think it's, I think he thinks of it as a strategy. Maybe it's going to take us a long time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't really know if he does or not, Pete, because quite frankly, between his dad's views of what the money system is, and what it ought to be, and, that of the other guys, the Austrians out there, they don't really ever put forward, proposals that are clearly aimed at, sustainable well-being. They don't do that. It's anti-government. It's limiting the size of government, limiting the benefits that governments deliver to people. If the people happen to be able to have a job or a wage level or a standard of living, that's okay. But there's nothing really that says that, the economy owes the people, the standard of living that they can achieve by, getting up and going to work every day and increasing the the gross domestic product, or however you want to think of it. So that's the problem that I have with it, that even though they may say that we're going to do this for the grandchildren, and even though doing it, by the way, Pete, for the grandchildren is important, I wish that I could see that they were on the side of the people in this, and I don't see that at all.
Well, whatever their intentions are, Joe, can it work? Can austerity work? This is what's being demanded of Ireland right now, okay? It's what was demanded of Greece last year. It's what the IMF is discussing right now.
Right.
Does the world go on a diet?
Well, Pete, here's the whole point about all of that, Pete. The world's going on a diet by not spending money on our well-being again, okay, and rather instead spending money on paying off the debts that have been built up in the debt money system. So we've had for 100 years, we've had a system of debt money, and by nature, all money is created as debt. All money, in order to continue to exist, has to be a debt. All money, in order to expand, has to expand as a debt. All we can have is debts, Pete. That's all we can have. So for somebody to say, no, we're not going to have debts, well, then they don't realize that if you pay off all the debts, you don't have any money. And if you don't have any money, you don't have any jobs, and you don't have any wages. So really, to me, it's a complete lack of understanding of how the money system works that leads people to think that going in the opposite direction of the expansion and well-being can lead to anything except contraction and a lack of well-being, because if they think that, it's because they don't understand the money system. So you have to do away with the debt money system, is my point, Pete, in order for you to solve the problem.
Because the first way doesn't work. It creates unpayable debts, exponentially increasing debts.
That's right, and that's where we're at now.
The second way doesn't work because as you pay the debts off, the money supply collapses, right? And there's just not enough oil in the engine to keep things moving. Right.
And we can't have a different way of doing it. That's the point, Pete. National economies and national monetary systems should be functioning around, a theme that's kind of, based on, to me, the beliefs of Frederick Soddy, who took a look at money and said, this is a confidence game, and we need to have a system of
debt money,
right? Well, the money systems that we've all known for 100 years,
that he knew in the 1920s. This was
exactly
the same
exactly. So to say, we need to have basically, Pete. We need to have a scientifically based money system. We need to have a money system that stands the test of scientific rigor for its sustainability, for its operability, and its ability to deliver, again, well-being to the people.
And what kind of a money system might that be? Does such a thing exist?
It exists in the sense that it has been scientifically laid out, that it has been laid out by groups of economists over periods of time, but it's not a money system that's been able to exist ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement, the Second World War, that no other money system could exist, type of money system, unless you're not going to be part of the IMF, which people see that as an advantage, and you're not be part of the World Trade Organization, which certainly, international trade is an important part of the global economy. So, yeah, we had the ability to have it, but we're prevented legally by agreement, that people signed for us to not have it.
And so you're talking about a third way, really. Soddy was talking about a third way.
The third way is debt-free money, Pete. The third way is to recognize that a national economy has a monetary system that needs to provide the means of exchange, Pete. The actual national circulating medium has to come into existence and function to support trade and commerce without creating debt. There's no need to create debt to have money, Pete. And that's basically the way. And it's the way that the Chicago Plan economists put it forward after the crash in 1929. And then again after the crash of 1929, they put that forward in 1933. 1939 program that was developed, and today we have the American Monetary Institute's proposal for doing basically the same thing, and so we have the means of having another way of doing the monetary system. And to me, until we can get that way on the table and have it evaluated against whatever options are out there, the Rand Paul option, the Bernanke's quantitative easing option, the austerity option. We got the Peterson Group coming out with their report. I call them the Peterson Group, Pete. More austerity, more.
Second way.
So the second way. So the second way is overtaken the first way because of the failure of the first way, but there has to be a third way. If there's no third way, we're doomed. We're doomed.
The third way, the debt-free money way, actually provides a way to completely retire the national debt.
Yes, it does.
And not crash the money supply at the same
time. Exactly. It
you
creates a permanent money system, Pete. A permanent money system.
Permanent money system. Where money's not constantly coming into existence when loans are made and being destroyed when loans are paid off. That's what we got right now.
Exactly.
We'll keep trying to hit the fundamentals,
Yeah,
Joe.
Pete. Okay, buddy.
See you next week.
Thanks, Pete.